hear that? You hear those whiny meows in the background? My cats are being especially obnoxious right now. They just ate dinner, but they want more dinner, and that's not happening. I've closed my door for streaming, so they think that this is some exclusive room that they're not allowed in. Really, like, it's cracked open. They could come in if they want, but they'd rather just sit outside and whine like babies. But I hope you guys are doing all right. I apologize. You're gonna have to listen to those cats give us the old big meow, because that's what they feel like doing right now. So we are gonna read chapter 9 of Growing Around Party Panic. I am still slightly sick, as I have been for this past week, so I apologize for my voice being a little messed up as usual. Oh, there he goes again. Yeah? Are you just gonna keep crying? Or are you just gonna... Yep, he's just gonna keep being a baby. Alright then. Ooh, I gotta catch up on the past streams. Let me tell you haven't really missed much in terms of content for these chapters. So let's go ahead, let's dive right in. Chapter 9. Sally Dunn, April said. Just what were you thinking? Is something amiss? April asked, stepping forward. Sally, you had me worried sick when you ran off. Why did you do that? In front of everyone? I reckon it's the in front of everyone thing that caused her to run off like that, Molly said. Why? That's absurd, April said. This is Sally we're talking about. It'd be silly to... I buried my head into my shirt as soon as that word was uttered. April's crystal blue eyes peered down at me. I could feel the accusations behind them, drilling deep down into me. I stepped back, and April flinched. Her eyes dropped the accusation, and sympathy filled the void. This was all because of that one word. That awful, no-good word. Silly. Silly used to mean things like running around in the rain with your tongue out and flapping your arms like a chicken, not caring whether or not you'd catch a cold. Then Tallulah came around and gave that word a new horrible meaning. My friends helped me into the kitchen and lowered me down into a chair. That interview went so badly. I was going to be known as the weird kid in town. When people came to my party, they would all laugh at me, even if they came at all. We talked back and forth, trying to find a new way to approach the problem. I came up with 1,000 new ways to avoid having this party altogether. But April and Molly reminded me that time and again that I'd be in huge trouble. Not only would I end up in timeout for who knows how long, but the kids would hate me even more. The problem only got more complicated when my parents came home from school. Linda burst through the door first, as per usual. If she carried that kind of speed and agility into a paintball match, she would have been doing much better at school. Instead, an alarm went off in her backpack. It was loud, horrendous ringing that stole the attention of me and my friends. It was almost like a tiny mosquito buzzing inside your ears. Linda, cut that noise out. I can barely hear myself think, I said. Sound? I don't know what you're talking about, Linda said. She poked her head into the kitchen, dumbfounded by the sight of me and my friends frantically covering our ears. Surprise ran through Linda's eyes as she jumped to life. She started looking over her person. Linda patted down every pocket until Molly pulled out a letter gently tucked into the back of Linda's backpack. Molly pushed the emblem on the envelope, and the sound stopped. Recovering from her daze, she looked at the label. Why in tarnation would your teacher be sending out a message with a kid pitch alarm? She asked. Why indeed, I asked, taking it from Molly. I clutched it in my hands. It was a letter from Miss Kathy addressed to the kids of Linda Dunn. The annoying part of this was that Miss Kathy was so confident in the fact that Linda wouldn't give the letter to me or Timmy that she had to sneak it into the house in a way that grown-ups couldn't detect. I hated kid pitch alarms, but in situations like this, I had to admit that they had their uses. As I tore open the letter, I noticed Linda starting to cringe. A twinge of anger ran through me, and it built a smile. My friends were here, and my mother had done something naughty. Wouldn't it be funny if I read it aloud and told them exactly what she was trying to hide? I dramatically cleared my throat and started reading. Dear Sally and Timmy Dunn, I must apologize for the alarm that I had put in this letter. But I have reason to believe that the last letter I sent never got to your house. Or any of the letters before that. I am reporting that an assignment I gave Linda, finding shapes in the stars of the night sky, has not been done, while Robert has managed to find dozens of shapes in the night sky. Linda didn't even find one. Sally, I can explain why I didn't do the assignment, Linda said. That's great, I said, through clenched teeth. Now, can you tell me why you keep on lying to me? That assignment last night wasn't extra credit at all, was it? No, Linda said. I told Robbie to do his after you went to bed to look like I was doing better than I was. Please don't punish him. Please don't punish him. It was all my idea. Fine then. Go to your room. You're grounded. Linda looked down as she left the kitchen. It was a little too quick for the act. Then I saw the light red rectangle hanging out of her pocket as she marched into the living room. Cell phone, I said. Gimme. She slowly reached into her pocket and pulled the phone out. I stomped over and snatched it right out of her hands. I looked her straight in the eyes and pointed up the stairs. I didn't give another glance as she walked up them. Each xylophone tone came slower than the last. That was good. She'd be able to see me walk across the room, duck down, and throw the phone in the grounded grotto, a small cubbyhole in the back wall. If any grown-up tried to reach for anything in there, their hand would get stuck. When Robert entered the house, I looked him in the eye. I tried to be angry and intimidating, but all of that stuff that a good kid is supposed to be, but I just couldn't. I couldn't look at him with anything other than tears and hurt in my eyes. I was getting used to Linda lying to me, but why did Robert start? Without a word, we both left the room. Sorry about that, I said. At the very least, the party's going to have some fun new activities. Perhaps we can play throw pies at the grounded grown-up, or maybe I'll just read the letter for everyone to hear. Come on, Sally, you can't be too hard on her, Molly said. Maybe you talk it out. Talk it out, I shouted. The letter started to crumple in my hands. I'm her daughter, and that means she's supposed to do what I say, just because you don't have any experience with this. I stopped. Molly stared at me. April almost seemed taken aback. What was happening to me? Sally, you're angry, and you need to calm down, Molly said. Her eyes bobbed to the floor. There's got to be a reason she's doing this to you. Do you really think your mother likes lying to you? I don't know, I said. Molly looked me straight in the eyes. Yeah, you do. I nodded, crying once again. Molly put her arm against me once again. If Linda didn't want to lie to me, then why was she? I needed to know the answer. The question beat me down. I made my way up the stairs. There was my parents' door, the largest one at the end of the hall. My hand hovered over the knob. What was I even going to say? So you know, too, a raspy voice said. I turned around to see Timmy straight in the face. He still had his briefcase in hand. Wait, how did he know? I've been talking with Kathy, he said. Linda's never going to be able to hide anything from us ever again, and neither will Robert. Robbie didn't hide anything from me. Like the star charts, right? Timmy asked, crossing his arms. The hallway never seemed so big before. Not even when I was a toddler. Even though we both wanted to say the same thing, we were lost in a vast chasm of silence. Disco lights danced around the room, changing our faces from blue to green to red, and in each color we looked the same. Sad. Even the warped mirrors didn't change our emotions. So, how do you want to punish them? Timmy asked finally. I'll take care of it myself, I said. You sure you want to do that? No. He shrugged and walked back down the stairs, leaving me to the door. I took a deep breath and let the wind flow through my body. I relaxed and closed my eyes. One knock. There was silence. 2 knocks. There was silence. 3 knocks. I heard a voice. I'm sorry. When I said I heard a voice just very quietly in the background, the cat just meowed, which was really, really funny. Hello? Robert asked. My eyes shot open. That's right. he was there too. I needed Linda alone to talk to her about this. All of these feelings scrunched up my face. Well, if they were willing to lie to me, I didn't see any reason why I couldn't lie right back. Fair is fair. Yes, Robbie, April's ready to get you fitted for a new clown costume, one that's even brighter and colorfuler than before. You shouldn't keep her waiting. Why? Because, I said, putting my hands on my hips. He was lucky that I wasn't going to make him wear it to school tomorrow. Now there's an idea. The door opened, and for a moment, Robert just stood there. He looked down at me, and I looked down at the floor, shielding my eyes from him. He kept on standing there, looking at me. I was about to snap. I needed to snap, but I couldn't. Sally, what happened to the flower in your hair? He asked. The flower? I reached up to my head. The buttercup was missing. I hadn't noticed it all day. A heavy feeling dripping through my entire body. I could have lost it anywhere. At the show, when I ran away, floating in the lake. Pirates stole it, I said, without hesitation. He didn't say anything back. I stole a glance as he went down the slide. I wanted to give a smile, but I couldn't. Robert wasn't going down the slide because he thought it was fun. He was going down the slide simply because it was the fastest way to the kitchen, and that didn't count. Linda stared out the window, up towards the evening sky. It was just turning purple. Specks of stars had just barely broken out of the night. She decided now to look for shapes in the nighttime sky, after she already failed the assignment. How typical. A floorboard creaked. This is my room, Linda said. This is my house, I said. Timmy's name is on the deed. Yeah, well, it's my drawing of a house on the back of it. And to end this annoying argument, I stuck my tongue out. Linda rolled her eyes in the window's reflection. She didn't even turn to face me while I was talking. I wanted to get angry at that, but for some reason I just couldn't. When I said to Molly and what she said to me kept bouncing around in my brain. I assume that you're here to give me my punishment, Linda said. Just so we get it over with. I didn't do tomorrow's secret agent assignment either, so hit me with your worst. I don't want to do my worst, I said. I mean, I do, but I don't. If you weren't going to do the assignment, then why did you stand outside for an hour looking at the sky? Sally, come here. I want to show you something, she said. I walked across the room. She signaled to the window and pointed towards the sky. The sun had just disappeared behind the forest, and now the stars were bursting to life one by one. It was the most magnificent time of day. Last night, I didn't see any shapes in the sky, Linda said. You know we have a computer, right? If it was too cloudy or something... No, Linda said, turning to me. That's not what I meant. What do you see when you look up at the stars? Let's see. There's a bunny. There's a bird. Those are easy ones. Oh, there's a monkey over there. I didn't see any of it, Linda said, her voice cracking. They're all just dots. Huge burning dots that have sent their light billions of miles for nothing. Maybe you just gotta try a little harder, I said. See, there's the tail, and... Try harder. After everyone went to bed, I stared at the sky for much longer than Robert. The sun was coming up when I went to bed, and nothing. Not one microscopic little shape. Beyond squares or other polygons, I don't know what I was thinking. I told you I don't have any imagination. We didn't say anything for a while. I looked around the room. It was almost as if people didn't even live here. Not a single drawing or scribble or dots on the walls. Papers were stacked neatly on the desk, and even the pencils had been arranged in a neat little order. A math book lay open. No wonder she was having trouble figuring this out. That stuff rots your brain. The only thing remotely out of place was the box of costumes I made Robert remove from the attic. A grin came across my face. Sally, why are you throwing costumes everywhere? Linda asked. I didn't answer. I just pulled out piece after piece, fairy wings, tutu dresses, bunny ears. When everything was on the floor, I still couldn't think of something perfect enough. Maybe it was time to prove that Linda didn't have an imagination after all. It's time to make outfits for school tomorrow, I said. So go ahead, you can pick something here. Sally, do I really have to do this? I want you to start succeeding in school, so do it, or I'll do it for you. Ooh, this ogre mask looks nice, I said. Fine, I'll pick this and This, Linda said. She picked up the princess dress and the fairy wings. Grown-ups could be funny sometimes. They tend to think that they're so much smarter than us kids, and when they do, they fall for our simplest tricks. I took the dress and looked at it with a fake curiosity. Robbie sure will look interesting in that, I said, smirking at Linda. But I'll be sure to let him know that when he's picking out your outfit. You can't make Robbie wear, we both said in unison. Ha! Jinx, no talking for 1 hour, I said, and I'm not making him wear this. You are! After I dressed Robert up, he was all too eager to look through the costumes and find a good one for Linda. She watched us from afar. With each selection, she looked tempted to talk, but even grown-ups knew that going against a Jinx was something that you never did. Oh, I almost forgot, I said. Linda said you'd look great with this wand. Oh, you don't say, he said. I blew Linda a raspberry as Robert took to work looking through the costumes. That fairy wand must really have been magic because it helped him find the perfect selections. Linda would have to wear a big, goofy polka dot bow on her head with an equally ridiculous-looking patchwork shirt. The tutu was a classic selection, and it wasn't complete without mismatched socks over squeaky rain boots. The oversized heart print underpants completed the set, but Robert added an elephant's trunk in an unprecedented selection. I couldn't deny that Robert had an imagination. Linda was growling, but fully dressed. Maybe if you didn't lie so much, you'd be able to talk at all, I said. Now say cheese. I caught both of their dumbfounded faces on my cell phone. My parents didn't even look this incredibly cute on Halloween. This photo was a keeper. Maybe I'd even get another one with Timmy in the mix. See, Linda, I said, showing her the photograph. This is what imagination can do. And it didn't take Robert very long to come up with something new. All you gotta do is throw together old bits and pieces. The cell phone beeped. Oh, it looks like your hour is up. Don't worry, you can change before your magic act tomorrow. I thought I was grounded, Linda said, through clenched teeth. You know, the whole don't leave the room unless it's for school kind of thing. I gave a nervous chuckle. I know I'm mad, but it'd be cruel to ground you from a party, I said. Especially one where you're the headlining act. I'm not going to do it, Sally. I can't, even if I wanted to. Just like I can't see the stars in the sky. What do you mean? You were doing tricks right in front of all of my friends just yesterday. That's different, Robert said. Oh, you butt out of this, I said. Linda, if you don't do your magic act, I'll make you wear that every day for the rest of the school year. Okay, she said simply. I was lost. This couldn't possibly be happening. Did she know what she just did? I told everyone in town that my party would have a magician. It was the one thing that I did before I crumbled, and now that magician wouldn't be there. This was almost worse than not having a party at all. The rest of the school year. Linda would be lucky if she wasn't wearing that until the day I had kids of my own, unless the town did something terrible to me first. Not only was it another lie, it was like she was lying to the entire town, through me. Oh, Jesus. That was a long chat. It felt long. Oh, that was a long chapter. Right, so I guess I will dive into what I think was good and what wasn't good. Also, welcome everybody else who entered the chat whilst I was reading. As is customary, when I read one of these chapters, I just go from beginning to end. I don't ever look at the chat until we get to the very end. I hope you guys at least had a decent time. I always start with the good and then I go into the bad. So I'll do my little rant and then you guys can chime in after. I mean, you can of course keep writing in the chat, but I'm not going to read it. So the last chapter was just abysmal. But this chapter wasn't too bad. This chapter was actually pretty okay. It had decent writing. I think that it established the way that children punish the parents in this world. I thought there was some nice little interactions between Sally and Linda. Really, the chapter became good in the second half. The first half was pretty bad. The weird kid pitch alarm in the envelope was just beyond stupid. And I know people make this joke all the time. Whenever they talk about growing around, they always like to distort Mr. Enter's vision, right? They always like to be like, ooh, what if the adults like got guns and started shooting the kids and like took over the world, guys? Hoo, I'm so edgy, right? You know, but like nobody would do something distorted to like another cartoon usually. They just do it with Enters because this world is super easy to distort. But the reason I bring that up is because I can't really imagine, like, this world is run by children, and there's a lot of things that you can point at that are really weird, like why do they have timeouts? Like, that's a thing adults do to kids. It's weird that kids would invent it. But this kid pitch thing, I just can't. I cannot imagine that this world has children that have developed some sort of ear-piercing alarm that only children can hear, and that it is just commercially available. Like, teachers can just slip them into notes, and it's perfectly fine. I just can't. I cannot... I can't really imagine that being... It's just... I don't know. It just feels so out of place and so weird. It feels like something an adult would develop to like, get the kids to fucking stop being in charge. And if the kids were to invent such a device, it seems like they would use it for their children. Or for their parents, I should say. Not for themselves? It's really weird. I joined late into these readings, and so far it sounds like a kid-run version of 1984. That's what people like to call this. You know, I actually thought that the moment where they were looking at the stars was strangely really nice. There was something honestly kind of cute about it. No, I thought that as soon as we dumped... Like, Sally's friends are fucking lame, alright? April and Molly, Molly showed up a few chapters ago. I don't fucking remember when she was introduced. I have no idea anything about her character besides she speaks with some sort of, like, kind of southern accent, and also the text, if we can go back to the beginning, you can't see it here, but in other chapters this we went too far back. Here we go. So when she says things like yada yada, where is Molly? Molly starts talking blah blah blah. She talks somewhere here. You're angry. You need to see. She says, "Yeah, need to calm down." But in earlier chapters, she'll say "yeah," like just a Y and then like an A, which is the correct way to write this, right? Like, yeah, need to calm down. Yeah is a word. You can't pronounce yeah like as yeah. You know, it just doesn't work. There was actually like another grammatical error. Like I said, the farther we get into this book, the more grammatical and spelling errors there are throughout. It's kind of getting distracting. I mean, it's been distracting, but it's getting really a little obnoxious. It's very clear to me that not a lot of time was spent reading the second half of the book, which is not good at all. You know, I can tell that the first half, maybe he read through it a little more than the last half, if you catch my drift, because it really feels like that. So Molly is completely fucking pointless. The chapter does not get good. And I know I said I wouldn't talk about the bad, but it kind of loops into why I thought it was good. So the second half is good. Essentially, once Sally gets into the room with Linda, and we have that really like nice heartfelt looking at the sky scene, and we have Linda sort of explain her point of view and what's happening, and then the punishment, which I thought was pretty well written. You know, that seems like a thing a kid would do, and it's not some sort of like insane level of cruelty that's just laughable. You know, she wasn't like, I'm gonna make you eat an entire shoe in front of me, you stupid piece of poopy. Like, you know, it was a realistic and achievable punishment that we got to see play out, which at the end, Linda as an adult held her ground and said, no, I don't give a shit if you make me wear the costume. It was good. It was a good scene. The interactions between the two of them were really good. Timmy served literally no purpose in this chapter. Timmy is probably the worst character in the book, but I'll get to him, you know, when I'm done with the good. So really, I think this whole Linda dynamic with Sally was handled really, really well. It felt like the plot moved at least a little bit. Not the overarching plot, but sort of like the character development side of things. That was handled pretty well. Yes, I know you're meowing. I know that you're meowing. So I thought that was pretty good. Now I'm gonna get to the bad. There are a few things that are. It's mostly small stuff. It's nothing too major. But my main issue with this chapter is that, and I don't really know the fix for it. A lot of the time I can fix these chapters if I think about it. This is a okay chapter. It's the second half of it is an okay chapter. But something about it feels like it's misplaced. You guys catch my drift? Something about this chapter feels like it's just in a weird location in the book. I feel like, I mean, if we look down here in my little Kindle thing, we are 82% of the way through this book. You know? And it just feels weird to me that this, like, character development and conflict is here. I mean, I don't know. I really feel like I would have cared more about Linda and Sally and the way they interact if this had happened sooner. I feel like it should have happened sooner. Yeah, if I had to place this somewhere else, I would have put it earlier in the book. Actually, you know what? I think I just realized. I think that this could have been placed maybe 1 or 2 chapters after earlier in the book. I think, yeah, Capra. I think Capra just wrote out exactly what I was about to say. I think it would be better if the chapter was placed after the first time Sally tried to help her be creative. Yeah, that's what I was actually about to say. I'm almost 100% agreeing with you. I think that after the first time, you know, like after the... I think it was when she met with the teacher and she tried to help Sally a little bit. I think it would have been nice if we got one more chapter where the overarching plot was developed, you know, something with Tallulah, and then right after that we got this chapter, the second half of this chapter with the Sally and Linda thing. I think that would have really built on their character to me, because it just feels so late in the book for this to be happening, you know. I don't know, like there's a lot of fluff in these chapters that could have been removed to make that happen. What did Capra says? Because, you know, they would have actually had development where they don't have a crappy relationship. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're 82% of the way in the book and they still have a bad relationship. And as far as I know, I don't really think their relationship is the main focus of the book. The main focus of the book is the party. It's the party. This is a side quest, and it's taking too long. This needed to have been at least pushed along faster or moderately resolved earlier in the book. So that I didn't like. I already pointed out I didn't like the beginning half of this chapter. And my really other complaint here is... My cats are fucking around. Timmy is the most useless character in this book, but he is seemingly super important because he's like the husband. Hello, how am I today? You know, I'm having a pretty okay day. Timmy just shows up at random intervals in this book. He just shows up randomly. He'll say 1 or 2 things to Sally, and none of what he says has any bearing on the plot. He'll usually come in and be like, "Hey, Sally, what's going on? You want me to do this?" And she'll be like, "No, I'll do that." And then he just fucks off. Like, why does he even exist? I almost feel like Sally would be a stronger character if Timmy was just not at all in this book. You know what I mean? Like if she was a single parent, I say with air quotes. It's just I don't know. Maybe I would care more about Sally if she was single, right? Like she didn't have a brother, and she was like doing the workload that I'm assuming Timmy is doing off camera. So, Timmy serves one purpose. He explains why they can afford a house, how they have money, you know, how they're like financially stable. Because without Timmy in this book, there is literally no reason like why Sally should be able to just be doing whatever the fuck she wants. Because there is money. They have to pay money for things. They pay with trading cards. So I know that Timmy serves a purpose. His purpose is to financially provide for them. But I think it's a little obnoxious that that's the only purpose he serves, yet he seems to be super integral. This is a family unit, right? Why would they only focus on 3 of them? And I take that back. Why would they only focus on 2.5? Because Robbie is barely fucking focused on either. This book seems to really like to focus on the Sally and Linda dynamic, which is fine. I don't need all of them to get equal screen time, but it just seems like all of them are important to some degree, with Sally obviously being more so because she's the main character, but they don't really get enough screen time, Wouldn't it be interesting if Timmy didn't actually raise the parents? It could be like a deadbeat dad scenario, but in a child's perspective. Yes. You understood what I'm going for. I think if it was like a deadbeat dad situation, but reversed, it would be really, really well done. But this is a book written for kids, so that sort of like nuance thing doesn't really happen in like a kid's cartoon, I guess. I mean, Mr. Enter I don't think would go there. I don't think he would want to introduce that sort of nuance into like this peppy, upbeat children's story, which is bullshit, because I know kids can handle that sort of thing. Like the fucking Rugrats, Chucky's dad, his mom died. Chucky's dad is there. He's not like a deadbeat dad, right? But his mom isn't there. She died. I know kids can handle some like heavy stuff when you introduce it correctly. I know why Enter made Timmy. It's because nuclear families are a common thing in cartoons. Yeah, that's right. The only reason that there's 2 kids and 2 parents is because it's a nuclear situation here. Forgive my pronunciation. I apologize. Trading cards as currency. If I wrote this, I'd have the currency be something like bottle caps, not a Fallout reference. I just think it makes more sense. I'm going to disagree with you. Before I open it up for you guys, I am going to disagree with your comment about wanting bottle caps instead of trading cards. I think trading cards are a really fine currency because I think they work really well in the sense that cards of different value, like holographic cards, would be worth more money, which I think is clever. I also think that other countries in this world would have different trading cards, like Japan would have Pokemon cards, but America would have like baseball trading cards. I think it's a clever idea. I don't think it was handled well in this book because it's really glanced at. Like, we don't ever really see the trading cards used more than I think once at the beginning. But I do like the idea if it was fleshed out just a little bit, just like 1 or 2 more sentences somewhere in the middle where Sally has to go to a store or something. It's fine. Honestly, I feel that trading cards wouldn't work well, but within the lore of the story, with kids taking over, I think it's pretty clever and fun. Exactly. Like this, very clearly there's problems with the trading cards if we look at it like super logically, right? Like what happens if certain cards become more meta as new cards come out, right? But we're just going to ignore that as a concept because this is, again, it's a kid's book. Like we can suspend, it's a book in general. We can suspend our disbelief just a little bit to sort of make that concept work. It just needed to be fleshed out just a little bit. Anyway, I'm really interested what you guys thought was good. So we're going to start with the good. I always like to start with the good before I let you guys just, open the floodgates of upsetness that you generally have. So what did you guys think this chapter did well? And please do not say it was better than the last one because I already know it is. The last chapter was really bad. I will say that again. This chapter was much better than the last one. What did you guys think was better? I'm curious. You feel more for Linda in this chapter. Linda's perspective is interesting to me. Okay. Both good things. Both things I agree with. This book generally tends to slow down to an absolute snail's pace and just is almost unbearable to read when the adults enter the story because it's very clear that Enter does not want to focus on the adults in this book. But this chapter actually handled it really, really well. A barter system would seem more reasonable in this world. It would, but I feel like it would be a little bit too complicated to have that. By the way, I haven't really heard from Mr. Enter as far as growing around. Like, is he going to continue trying to make it a show or write more books? Personally, I'd suggest the latter because he can improve his writing. You know, I don't ever like to talk about Enter as an entity. I know people like to shit on him. I'm here to just look at this book. I'm not here to look at the overarching, like, growing around, universe. And I don't want to talk about Enter. I'm not here to shit on Enter. That's what there's a million other YouTubers who do that already. I'm here just to look at the book, but I will suspend that rule ever so slightly to answer your question. He is trying to continue to do things with it. He tried to make it a show that didn't really work. I haven't checked in a few months, so I think he was doing a webcomic. I'm not sure what he's doing right now. I honestly think he might be trying to write another book. Again, I haven't looked in a few months, so you guys can tell me if he is writing a book. When I started doing this Let's Read, and I'm not saying that I had any influence on this, but I'm saying when I started reading this after a couple chapters, it went down on Amazon. I got this off Amazon, and you can't buy this book anymore. And part of me thinks maybe he's doing another book so that he can put it on Amazon as sort of like a replacement for this one, which would be interesting. That would be kind of neat, I would think. I think it's better without the adults. I mean, a world of just kids would be kind of interesting, but that is a hard thing to tackle. I would say. I personally think it's hard. I agree with Dravenwolf. Maybe if it was more like Kids Next Door, where the adults were built by kids or something like that. Maybe if it was like a world where these kids had no parents, and when they get to a certain age, they like disappear or something, and maybe we follow the tale of two kids trying to figure out like where you go after a certain age. That makes it more like a mystery adventure novel, which is very clearly not what this book is going for. But I'm just throwing out ideas of what I would personally find interesting. I feel like that's a story that's already been done, maybe like in a movie. I feel like it has. I would still watch it anyway, or read it, I guess. I think he's prepping to review every single Nick cartoon for December. Oh, geez. That sounds like a lot to do. Lord of the Flies intensifies. Alright, what else did you guys, I love that concept. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes I throw out ideas that are at least half okay. What else did you guys think was good? Besides the Linda dynamic and just, the somebody else mentioned that the world is pretty interesting in a way. There's got to be at least one other thing that you guys thought was done well. I will say the dialogue was pretty good. Dialogue was pretty good here. Sometimes the dialogue is trash, like the beginning of the chapter. Sometimes it's really good. Thanks for clarifying. Sorry if it felt like I was trying to attack him. I'm just speaking as someone who was very involved / spoke to the staff during the time he was first working on this project. No. Don't apologize. You do not have to apologize, my guy. I know that not everybody follows every single stream I do because that's fucking insane. For all I know, you could have joined it 2 minutes ago and you don't know, like, that I'm not here to talk really about Enter. I'm here to talk about his book. I firmly believe that there are enough people shitting on Mr. Enter on the internet. I don't need to do that, okay? But I don't think there's enough people talking about this book, and certainly nobody's going to now because it's fucking gone off Amazon, so I don't know what to tell you. There's a book about kids in a zombie apocalypse where at a certain age they become zombies. I forgot the name of it, though. That sounds like a really cool book. Sally was relatable with the whole lying thing. Yeah, that was also pretty good. That was handled pretty good. And especially, I liked that Robert kind of knew that Sally was lying, and he kind of took the hint. That's a very adult thing to do. I feel like if she was talking to Timmy and she'd pulled that lie, he would just like believe it, or he would argue it with her. But because Robert's an adult, he kind of knows that she was kind of giving off a vibe and he needed to get the fuck out of there. I thought that was handled well. That seemed like a realistic response. So I will open up the floodgates now. Please tell me what you guys disliked about the chapter. I know I spoke quite a bit about two very specific things, but what did you guys think? Just saying, Tony, when we get to the bad things section, I already posted a thing in the chat, but I don't want to repost it since it's like 3 posts long. Yeah, I saw that you wrote like a big long thing, and I only read like 1 or 2 of those because the chat was moving. I apologize. You should post like the last one of those again. I really hate how the adults act like children in the face of authority and in general, especially since the children act like children. Maybe that's just me. I mean, I enjoy it sometimes. This is a world that's run by kids, and I think there's a time and a place for Linda and Robert to combat the authority as adults, you know? So I think when she sort of argues with Sally at the beginning of their confrontation, like an adult, I think that was handled, you know, fine. That I think is realistic. And then when the jinx happens and it's established in the text that if you were to perhaps not listen to the jinx, something horrible would happen to you. Again, this is run by children, right? So like that, that would probably, if you were to fuck up a jinx, something horrible would happen. I don't mind when she acts a little childish later, you know, Linda gritting through her teeth and such, you know. I really think that's okay. I get what you mean, though. I think there are certain times in this book, not just this chapter, but in the book in general, where the adults really do not respond the way that they should be. You would think they would be a little bit more conniving, because they're adults. They have fully developed brains. You would think they would find a way to get around punishments, but they just don't, for some reason. Timmy did nothing. Yeah, Timmy didn't do fucking anything. Robert is the real MVP. Remove Timmy. Timmy is just, he's worthless. I feel like the book would be better without him. I get the whole, like, you know, 1950s family aesthetic that this wants to go for, because that's like what classic cartoons do, but come on. I feel like it'd be a little more original. Perhaps have Sally respect her mother's choice, and for whatever reason, Linda has to grow more confident and do it to save her daughter from the embarrassment. You know, I think that would be an okay route for this book to go. I will say that I've thought about that concept as well. It seems very generic. I'm not trying to shit on you. I really am not. Your opinion is totally valid, Crasher. It is a generic route to go, though. And I feel like the book would be too fucking boring if it took that route, like, because there's other generic sections in the book, and I don't want to just have generic compounding in on itself, you know what I mean? But I totally agree with you. Something needed to be handled a little differently. The book at this section, we could have had something different, you know what I mean? We could have got Linda to be the magician in a different way. We haven't even seen how she's going to do it. Maybe she'll do exactly what you just described. This isn't anything to do with the book, but you're one of my favorite YouTubers. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't get to do YouTube as much as I want to anymore, but I appreciate that you enjoy it, and that others do, apparently. Or Sally is Linda, and she lost her mind. You're going for like a, God, what is it? The creepypasta insanity angle. Now that's something. If this book suddenly became a creepypasta 83% of the way in, I'd be into that. The beginning part of the chapter was yes, B-Roy. The beginning half of this chapter was bad. It was unnecessary. It involved characters that nobody gives a fuck about. You've been on a roll for the past few days so far with streams. I've been trying. My job has been super busy, but I've actually got a little bit of a lull in my work right now, so I haven't, you know, sometimes I'll come home from my job and I still have work to do. Other times I'll come home and I'm so fucking tired I just sleep. You know, I sleep, I make food, and then I go back to bed. With very little time for leisure activities. So this is a good period where I can do some streams, which I'm happy about. It was a vain start. It was an unnecessary start. You're doing your best, Tony. Thank you, Capra. Thank you, Capra. I appreciate it. I am trying my best. Oh, God. I'm not gonna lie, though, my voice... I didn't get myself some water before I got this stream. I definitely need some. My voice is fucking up pretty bad because I'm sick. And that's not good. I don't know. The last chapter was really bad. I'm gonna, we're gonna come to a close here. We're gonna close out. The last chapter was really bad, like I said. That badness continued into the first section of this chapter. I really hope that the next chapter is as good as the end of this chapter was. And again, Crasher, I hope that scenario that you talked about. I don't know. I hope that Linda. I don't know. I hope that the next chapter is Linda respecting her mom. You know what I mean? I understand that the route would have been more generic, but it would have been less contradictory to the rest of the chapter. They begin to make a connection, but then Sally is just an ass at the end. You know? I didn't look at it that way. I didn't look at it that way, Crasher, because when I thought about it, I thought that was the sort of kid thing for her to do, and I knew that when, yeah, I mean Sally. I knew that Sally was going to punish her, so I guess I didn't really consider how much of an ass she was being, but she definitely was. Now that you mention it, I guess. She's a kid, so I give it a pass. just this one time. I hope this next chapter concludes this whole conflict, and and Linda becomes the magician, and Sally's like, you know what, Linda, you cannot be imaginative, and that's fine. I really do not. I'm gonna end it on this, guys. If the final resolution is that Linda gets an imagination by being a magician, I'm gonna be mad. I'm going to be a little mad because this book isn't about Linda, and for her to have such a huge character arc with basically no real setup, that would make me mad because there would need to be more time. But I hope you guys had a decent time. I will see you on the next stream. You guys have a